Aloha, Michelle Melenis, Blossom Inner Wellness, and I want to do a video on what's happening with the bills in legislation regarding climate, and the fact that we had a bill here in Hawaii, and check your legislative body, because they literally wanted to put a ban on gas stoves without really giving us another option. So a lot of people here in Hawaii live off the grid, and they use propane to warm the water and heat their place if they need it, and cook with. So luckily that got deferred, and we're going to be watching to make sure that that doesn't come back. And why are they doing this? They're doing this because the World Economic Forum has put out that there is a major issue with carbon dioxide and the fact that it's warming up the planet. Now, who is in charge? Who started the World Economic Forum? Klaus Schwab. Can't pronounce his name. He is not an elected official. In fact, nobody in the World Economic Forum has been elected by any people. They actually pay dues to be part of this forum. And what is the forum about? Well, who is Klaus Schwab? He is a businessman, and he is here to make a ton of money. So I'm sorry, I'm just really passionate about this, and I want to check my notes because I want to talk about the two bills that luckily got deferred. And I'm also going to bring on, or not bring on, but add two clips of Greg Braden, who is an American author who has been talking about the understanding of what carbon dioxide in the environment is. He actually shows a chart, a complete chart that I think is 500 million years long, that literally shows where carbon dioxide is in the different periods of 500 million years up until present time, and the fact that carbon has been way lower and way higher in other areas, and that if it drops below, I think it's 184 parts per million, that the human race is going to be in big trouble. And right now, it's actually at a very low part in the 500 million years that we have been on the planet. So it's not rising. Did you know your body is mostly carbon? That, you know, I'm sure a lot of you know that plants breathe in, they pull in carbon dioxide and they release oxygen. So if we reduce this carbon dioxide for our plants, we're literally telling the plants, go ahead and die. You know, we don't really want more oxygen, because we have bought the narrative from an economic forum started by a businessman, and we are believing what this businessman, who is not an elected official, says. And so we're going to base all our bills that are going to change our lives off of what this businessman has to say. And I'm also going to show you a clip from Greg Braden and his partner, or his friend, John L. Peterson, who is from the Arlington Institute, and what they're saying about the conflict of interest that this economic forum has, based on their claim that there's a major too much carbon dioxide in the freaking environment. It blows my mind. So anyway, one of the bills that got deferred in Hawaii, thank God, was a bill on banning gas stoves, which would be horrendous for many people who live off grid here in Hawaii. Another bill that got deferred was on a carbon tax credits, and that one got deferred, and some other bills that went through, but we still can challenge those bills because they're not all the way through. There's a whole process. So one of the reasons I'm doing this video is to ask all the Hawaii people on all the islands to please testify. I'm going to be putting out where to testify, the different things that you can say if you're not sure what to say, and also where to find this information. So you don't have to believe me. Don't even believe a word I say. Do your own research on this stuff. Who is the WEF? Who is responsible for it? Why are they saying this? And what are the scientists? What do they have to gain from telling people that that we're in trouble here? The other thing I wanted to share, just because I'm here, is this thing about that that Teslas and electric cars are the way to go. Are you freaking kidding me? Did you know that the chemicals and the minerals that are in those electric cars, where they come from, are third world countries, and they are toxic to the people creating these electric cars? They are killing them. They are absolutely putting these people in harm's way, poisoning them because of the chemicals that go into these electric cars. Also, what happens if the grid goes down? How are you gonna start your electric car if you don't have a gas vehicle? There's a reason why this is happening, and I know you can just say, Michelle, you're a conspiracy theorist and you're crazy and blah 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 blah. You can try it for yourself. Look it up for yourself. So I want to show the 2 clips right now from Greg Braden, and then I'll be back.
So what this is, I'm going to move this around a little bit. It's something you don't see very often, is carbon dioxide levels in geologic history. And what you're seeing on the far right is today. Now, our levels, are they higher than they have been in the last 100 years? Yes, they are. We're being led to believe that they have never been higher, that Earth is going to be destroyed if they are any higher, and we're being led to believe that these are driving temperatures higher than they've ever been, both of which are not true. So first of all, you can see carbon dioxide levels have been much higher. This is the black line you're seeing.
Right.
And I'm not sure if I'm moving our little pictures around, are you seeing that on your screen?
No, nothing's moving.
Okay, good. So I don't know if I'm blocking the image or not. But if you're looking, I mean, our carbon dioxide levels are actually very low compared to where they have been in geologic history.
Sure.
We go back into the Triassic period, for example. It's the purple right there between 200 and 250 million years. You can see it was much higher. The Devonian period,
sure,
to the far left. One of the most, probably the best known eras in our past periods is the Cretaceous period, right there. It's in the green, 100 million years. So I want just to use this as an example. Those carbon dioxide levels were over 3 times higher than they are right now. They were up a little over 800, almost 1,000 parts per million for parts of that. What was the Cretaceous period like? It was an extreme greening on the earth. Forests emerged and new forms of life, a lot of flowering plants, for example, and large mammals. But look at this, when those CO2 levels dropped drastically, brought an end to the Cretaceous. And this is the danger, John, a lot of people aren't talking about. If Earth's CO2 levels drop below 184 parts per million, that seems to be the threshold where we're in trouble, because the forests of the earth thrive on the CO2. We cut that CO2. If CO2 drops to those levels, we are actually cutting off the very life force that is providing the oxygen on the planet. So we don't want to do that. And young people are not getting that message at all. Some young people are in school. Some of them are young people. When I say young, I'm talking about 30s, maybe 40s, who are working with the UN. And what they're saying is, how come this isn't what the UN climate panel is telling us? And what I can show them is how that data, it's like a day on the stock market, John. Every day on the stock market, if you go down to a 60-second interval on the stock market, the market is rising and falling in that 60 seconds. And then you expand that to 5 minutes and 10 minutes and an hour in a day. If you zero in on 30 of those seconds, what you'll see, it looks like the market is in a downtrend. But then you look at the big picture, it's in the downtrend for 30 seconds of an uptrend. And the same thing is happening with the CO2 levels. Same thing is happening with climate. So the data has been cherry picked, and we all know people that did that in our memorable.
And more than that, it's been manipulated.
Well, this is where I'm going with this, because then the next question that these people asked me, they said, well, what about the models? What about the models that show us life is going to end in 12 years and all this?
Right.
It's so what a lot of people don't realize, the models are based on what are called feedback loops. Sure. And these feedback loops are very imprecise. In other words, if you begin to change the temperature of the oceans and the salinity of the oceans, their ability to absorb and release heat begins to change. And those are feedback loops. So here's where it gets really interesting, John. A model is supposed to predict what will happen. And if it's a good model, once that time passed, you should be able to go in and plug in the data for what already happened.
Yeah, sure.
So the model will show you, and right now, even if you plug in the data for the recent history of the climate, the models cannot show us what already happened. The models are flawed. So this is where but the reason this is important, John, and 2023 is coming up very, very soon now. So much of our society and social engineering and economy and financial system and the way we travel and what we do to create our living is based on a false narrative driven by cherry-picked data from these climate models and the people that are doing it. For example, in the UN, of the number of scientists they are scientists. However, there's a conflict of interest. They are working for organizations and institutions beholden to the funding that supports them cherry picking the data.
I hope those at least gave you some opening of questioning things. We need to take a look at what our legislative body is doing. We need to talk to them. We need to say, this is not okay. This is not Pono. We do not want this. And we need to start really just standing up for our constitutional freedoms and our rights, and the fact that without it, carbon dioxide, we would die. Our plants would die. The human race would die. And what is being said needs to be logically looked at. All right? Okay. Keep an eye out for the bills that are coming down. We have until May. I think that's when the legislative body ends. They're still going to try to put a lot more bills through. We got this. We're just going to stay on top of them. We're going to keep watching what they're doing, and we're going to let them know what we oppose and what we support. So much aloha and much mahalo. Wherever you're at on the world, it is your kuleana. It's your responsibility to take a look at what your legislative body is doing. We need to keep an eye on them, because if we don't, our lives, they're literally choosing what our lives are going to look like. I did a testimony the other day and I told them a government cannot run people's lives. They are responsible for upholding liberty and freedom and keeping that oath, their constitution, to the Constitution. That is their job. Their job is not to run people's lives. That is not the job of government, ever. Especially if you're in a free country. If you're in a communist country, completely different story. That's where you get all disinformation and all that other stuff. And I'm not even going to go into that story. But anyway, if you're still watching, much mahalo. Please subscribe and like this video and share it. Much aloha, everyone.